what we've done is in the development, we've followed the existing topography. We'll get into that in just a minute as well. We can lower the lights for this if we want to, because it's going to take me a minute to show what we're doing. Okay, you can't see it because it's too small. I'm going to walk away from this a little bit, only to point. So what we did is we worked in conjunction with USU, the city and the county to try to figure out the ways to do this and to do this development so that it impacted the local area as little as possible. So what we did was, if you look in this lower left-hand corner, you can't really see it because it's not big enough, but along all of here are little topography lines. What we did is we had USU fly this with a drone and do aerial surveys for us that showed the topography of the land. We then incorporated the existing water courses and left them existing, and then used the existing roadways to be the roadways that would plan for our development. We then came back, if you look at the top left-hand corner, we took these shots. This is an actual photograph. That's a computer-generated image. We then took that computer-generated image and generated the areas where, on the existing topography, individual home lots would be able to be placed. In other words, the developments that we have planned currently are not clear-cutting the ground and flattening it out. It's following the existing roadways and using existing paths available to develop the homes and develop those lots. Our idea and our plan is to provide for a mix of housing, starter homes near Helper, smaller lots near Helper and also over by Kenilworth, and market to people that are attracted to the area as it's laid out. Thank you. I was vamping for a minute. Good. The things that are important to what we have been told and what we've seen are the dark skies, the natural environment, the views, and those things. That's what not only what we want to protect, but we want to attract those buyers who also find those as valuable. Our goals are to bring much needed sustainable housing to Carbon County. Currently, there's a tiny fraction of available homes for those wanting to move to Carbon County, or many of people who want to return. Firms wanting to locate here cannot do so because there's insufficient housing for their employees. This limits Carbon County's employment sustainability and also kind of traps and limits your tax revenues and your abilities to grow. We want to honor legal rights of ways and county roadways. Among others, the trail from Kenilworth to Helper is a county right-of-way and will remain. We also have an AADT study, traffic, showing that Highway 157 is currently only being used at 15% of its design capacity. And even at full build-out with the thing we have planned, it's far below what the design capacity was. We want to maintain dark sky community by working with county, and we've already had these conversations with the county and our MP, with builders to minimize the exterior lighting and interior lighting and energy consumption and appliances similar to Energy Star. By the way, this is not just something that we're doing for this project. I've done this my entire career. I built the first LEED certified grocery store in the United States and have consulted to the Haitian and the Chinese government on sustainability projects and energy use reduction projects. Slide number 4. That's what we want to try and maintain, which I'm sure everybody behind me wants to do as well. We've coordinated with county and Pryway to reduce water usage, and we will continue to encourage buyers and builders to use low-flow faucets, toilets, and xeriscape landscaping, requiring a minimum amount of water for their landscaping, but maximum nutrition for the deer. That's a joke, by the way, because at my house in Heber, that's what they eat, all my landscaping. We've met regularly with the County Planning Department and County Commission to receive input and suggestions and communicate every step of the process. Each use Each issue the county and Prywide Mayor RMP asked for us, we have either accommodated or included into our development. We have had several conversations and meetings with USU. The city of Helper worked with USU to come up with what a sustainable development would be, what Helper would need, what the area around her, what growth would look like, the numbers of homes that they would need, the types of projects they would need. And we've attempted to include them and these sorts of designs in what we're attempting to do with our project. We worked in tandem with USU to do the drone flights and make the topography. I want to take just a second and make sure that that's clear, because I think there's some miscommunication. The topography piece, and we can go back to that because I think it's important to overkill this. So there's been some concern about the numbers of lots available. Can we lower the lights? So everybody knows the area that we're talking about. I'm going to go off microphone for a minute. Everybody knows the area that we're talking about, the developments here. What needs to be really clear is when we flew it with the drones and did all of these lines, what we did in all the development is to maintain these water courses all the way through here. It's impossible to put a lot of houses here. And I don't mean it's improbable. I mean it's impossible. We don't have hills here, we have cliffs. So the only way that we can do this and make this actually work is to follow the existing roads, follow the existing topography of the land, and put these lots here along these roads that already exist. We can't take these canyons that are this and fill them in and put houses on the top. That can't work, it's impossible. So some of the numbers that I heard from people, the thousands, there's just no possible way that can happen. Further investigation that we did in collaboration, again, FEMA, Army Corps, BLM, we made sure that the drainage courses, that was a big thing for us. Not only do we can't fill in all those canals, but we don't want to impact any other neighbors or any other residents with water or other issues. Our planning and engineering firms that we've used include USU, Plump, Nielsen, ALM, Jones & DeMille, and Franson. They've all provided and worked with us on topography, meets and bounds, parcel mapping, water studies, power grid reviews, topography, and water course maintenance. We've met with and are continue to work with DWR, Division of Wildlife Resources, to minimize the impact to deer and other wildlife habitat. They have not expressed concern, and we are committed to continue open engagement and coordination throughout this process. Please understand that we understand that some deer are going to have to move over a little bit, but we have 13,700 other acres, as well as everything else around there. Our impact will not be that great on the local deer. Number 6. Sorry, this is our webcam. So we love this. I hope everybody else loves this too, but we can lower this a little bit. We have close to 1,000 elk that are up on top of the area in winter up there. As you can see, we couldn't pull off the one picture. We have one picture of a giant bear, but that wouldn't come up in print. We have bear, cougars, all sorts of things up there, and we want to maintain that and continue that. Anyway, that's essentially our program. Thank you for your time and support. We look forward to a long and healthy relationship. Any questions anybody has? Commission, anybody else? Happy to answer.
Well, I think I want to have the panel ask questions first, get the lights up again. So we'll start down there with you, Kurt. Do you have questions?
One question. Make sure your mic's close to you so everyone can hear. The first question I have is, do you have the water shares for all this?
Yes.
Okay. And then, what are your plans to upgrade the existing roads? Like some of them's fairly narrow roads, and do you plan on upgrading them?
We will have to upgrade some of the roads, especially the ones coming down from the side over Helper, where the funeral, or not the funeral, but the burial area is. Like we said, that we're only using 15% capacity on 157, but any areas where a development's going to be, realize that what we're here talking about is the zone change of a pretty large space. Each time that we come in for a specific approval of a specific subdivision, we have to follow and are happy to follow any county rule guidelines, and those sorts of things are all going to happen. So yes.
Okay.
Todd,
That's all I have right now.
just quick question. Are we only going to take questions from number 11 and then close and then go to 13 next? So everybody understands, it looks like there's 2 applications here.
Yes.
I'll do my speech twice if you want.
So the first item is for the zone change that is closer to Helper and Spring Glen. Let me, let me switch it.
Do you want me to close this?
Yeah. And okay, so the first public comment period, when we get to it, is for the parcels that are located in Spring Glen and closest to Helper. So this parcel and this parcel, so that will be the first public comment period. So I think as we move forward, let's focus on this one. We'll do comments from the public, then we'll close the public hearing, and then the next public hearing will be for the one up around Kenilworth and Eagle Cliff.
And before, Mr. Chairman, can I make a quick statement?
Yeah.
Commission members, I want you to be aware of what your duty is as you hear the public comments tonight and as you consider what's already been said. Just wanted to review the legal standard that you are to take into account and follow. This is a zoning, you're making a recommendation on a zoning decision. A zoning decision is a legislative action. So whatever you decide tonight is simply going to be a recommendation to the county commission. The county commission is the final land use authority for these type of land use regulations. So, and I just want the audience to be aware that tonight is not a final decision. The planning commission simply makes a recommendation that the county commission then acts upon. So as you and the county commission both review the application and consider the public comments that are made and listen to what's been set forth, remember a zoning decision, it has a very specific standard, and that legal standard is whether, so the decision to grant or deny this zoning request is a legislative decision subject to the reasonably debatable standard. It's a highly deferential standard. So if a court were to review your actions tonight, the court would say, did you act on evidence that was presented that was reasonably debatable as to advancing the general purposes of the master plan and the general welfare of the community? Was the evidence that you relied on and the reasons you gave for either granting the zone change or denying the zone change, or I should say, making a recommendation to grant or deny the zone change, did you use evidence that was reasonably debatable? So I just want to read you a couple statements from some court cases. It says, for example, one court case said that the municipal board's decision was not going to be overturned because it was reasonably debatable that the decision to grant the zone change was in the interest of the general welfare. Further, public hearings and citizen comments are a legitimate source of information for Planning Commission members to consider in making legislative decisions. So a lot of times you'll have, so I want you to be aware there's no deference owed to the application one way or the other. When you get things like conditional use permits and subdivision requests, those types of things, you cannot deny those unless there is substantial evidence presented at the meeting to say there's a valid reason to deny that kind of a request. But with a legislative decision, there's no such deference owed one way or the other. So you just have to make your decision on evidence that an objective observer could say is reasonably debatable, that it's a valid reason for denying or approving the zone change. So I just wanted that standard to be in your minds as you listen to the public comments that are made and as you consider the evidence that's been presented today. It's a reasonably debatable standard, not entitled to any kind of deference, and a court will be highly deferential to whatever decision you make under this standard. Basically, they're going to look to see if your decision was illegal or simply based on no reason whatsoever. But any reason that you find that advances the purposes of the master plan or the general welfare of the public, whatever reasons you give to make your recommendation will generally be upheld as long as they're reasonably debatable. So thanks. I think I beat that horse pretty well.
Hey,
Counselor?
Todd, can you real quick just give us, everybody, a good understanding whatever general plan really calls for in these areas, so we get some better background from our side?
So within the general plan, I have a paragraph here from page 77 of our general plan. Local governments will not permit any new residential developments to be established unless and until adequate infrastructure services, including water, sewer, and septic systems, electricity, telephone, emergency services, are available to serve those developments. Carbon County residents have many different ideas regarding residential living. While some strongly prefer a rural setting where there are no street lights, no curb, gutter, and no sidewalks, others are equally passionate in demanding these amenities. Because county residents differ in the types of housing and the neighborhood settings they prefer to inhabit, the county wishes to maintain the variety of options that the county offers now by allowing for all types of residential development according to personal preferences. In locating new residential areas, the county will give serious consideration to quality of life issues such as proximity to shopping, businesses, recreation areas, keeping in mind that some prefer to forego these amenities for a more isolated setting. At the same time, the county will seek to locate residential areas away from industrial areas and high-volume traffic corridors and will encourage infill in cities. So that's from our general plan on residential zones in our county.
Scott, you got some questions?
I do. Mr. McCombs, you stated that you've had several conversations with the county and a lot of officials here. I think this board has very, very little and limited information on what's going on here. So I'd be interested to know on this particular item how fast, how many houses you're trying to build, what the phasing of the construction would be, and also the type of construction that we can anticipate here.
Okay. From our engineering and civil things, we think that 400-ish,
I'm
450.
talking specifically on the items.
Oh, those.
9 and 10. We're talking specifically
okay.
about these three portions here.
Well, okay, can you go back to them, Todd?
Oh, where did it go? Got too many tabs.
Yeah, so I'm asking about 0353.
Okay, can we
and then
lower the
two
lights
to
again
the
so
north there.
that everybody can see? So we're not talking about three pieces. Todd, can you go down to the piece that I can't use? Okay, so this piece right here, which is
But we are
currently-
talking about 3 pieces on,
No, I
on this
understand, but-
particular line item.
I know, but I'm answering your question. It's not that
Okay.
easy. This piece right here, which is included in that, doesn't work because we can't get to it because of all these rail lines, so nothing will go. So to answer your volume question, the only place we can put houses are here and here. We don't own this railway side. We can't develop this, so it's only those 2 areas right there. So between those 2 areas, the city has asked us that they want a little higher density here because they want starter houses and some other things. So I would imagine somewhere between here and here, somewhere in the range of 200, 250-ish, depending on
Okay?
what there is. But again, I apologize, I'm not, we just
I
physically can't do
saw,
it.
correct me if I'm wrong, but in the previous slide when you were doing your overview, it showed some lot development in that
did.
area.
No, it showed, well.
I couldn't tell from the
No, no
resolution
lot.
of it, but it showed some definite.
It showed a
partitioning
line
in there.
around it, but no lots on it.
Can we pull
I
that
don't
up?
think we've ever had anything with lots on it.
The maps you sent me included that peninsula for part of the zone change. I don't know the lot
I'm just trying
layout.
to get an idea for what we're talking about here, because we
Yep.
haven't seen much of this to this point.
I'm kind of on board with Scott. It doesn't matter what you say you can build. If we rezone all 3 parcels to what you've requested, you can do whatever you want within that zone that's already a part of the,
Well, I have no problem taking that off of the request for the zone, because that, like I said, we physically cannot build that location. So we're not, that's not something we're interested in at all. It was on one of the earlier maps, just as one of the pieces that we looked at, but it's not.
It was an interest at one time. I saw
Okay,
it
right
in
there.
that.
Can you pull up my map? So that map, if you see this corner that we're talking about, those aren't lot lines.
Okay, gotcha.
And this one's no longer there, and that one we're not doing either. So this one's not there, that one's not there, and that one we've taken off. We've never had it on there because of the elevations.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
So 250-ish.
I would imagine that would be the max that those would do, and that's at fairly higher density than we even have that we're even thinking about.
So what are you thinking, how many initial homes and then how many starts per month would you see?
Oh,
on the
phasing-wise, yeah, I need to answer your
construction,
phasing. On this, I would imagine that in this area, there'll be maybe 2 or 3 individual developments, and probably phased over the next 3 years, something like that.
Okay. And you're thinking those are single families, town homes?
Right now, we're thinking a mix between smaller single families, and townhomes is kind of no one really knows what the definition of that. If I say townhome, what I'm saying is kind of connected homes, like fourplexes or something like that. I think that would be kind of the plan.
Yeah.
And my comment with that, and that's why the request for the R48, so they can have some mixed use, they can have some fourplexes, then they can have some single family available. So that's why that particular area is the R48 that allows them some of those twin homes, fourplexes, something like that, mixed in with single family homes. So that's why the R48 designation, so they have that option to add that.
Right.
Anything else, Scott?
And so the plan would be all access, I don't know the street there, but the just as you come under the underpass and turn up by the field, that would be the single point of access
No,
to those?
no. So, sorry, I'm off back again. So these, we would plan on accessing from here. Those, we would hope to access from here. So we would attempt to minimize, pardon?
yeah, it's going right by the old
There's a county
cemetery.
road right there. Oh, it is. Yeah, we would have to improve the road that came down here.
Okay.
That's Carbondale, right?
It's
I have a question, and I know the answer is going to be, But when you add a substantial number of homes, including the roads or whatever, the impervious area goes through the roof. And here, probably 5 or 7 years ago in that area, we had devastating floodings and ruined a lot of homes and cost a lot of money. What standard would you be held to make sure that the downstream facilities are upgraded as well to handle the increased flows that will come with the development?
Yeah, well, like I said in the little speech part, we've spent a lot of time doing that. In these areas, the idea would be that there would be a couple developments in here, not that you would concrete over and asphalt the entire thing. You'd obviously asphalt the road and the little area where the housings were, but you wouldn't be altering and making impervious an entire subdivision area like you would in a Arizona subdivision or a flat area subdivision out on the Wasatch Front where they just clear cut everything. We're nowhere even near close to that.
But my point is, when you have that high a density, you still will have a significant increased impervious area, and there's a lot of obstacles that will have to be addressed. That's why right now, I think most of the people are going to complain that it's just too many homes in a small area, and that's my biggest concern right now. So kind of give us, honestly, unless you had a set of plans here that went through the zone change and said this is what we're going to do for development, I'd be a lot more comfortable. But when we say we just do 3 large plots of 100+ acres, yeah, they might not be buildable, but you would have the right to. Is that right, Todd?
So, to a degree, yes. The topography, though, would limit them to where they could put houses. Building code regulations to where you can cut it into the slope and all of that. So, would limit some of the topography from them putting houses on. But if they could, where topography allows them, they could put houses where the topography allows them. With the hydrology part, we make them do all developments like this, and the smaller ones we've dealt with, have a hydrology study that they have to calculate all the pre-development flows and then the post-development flows. They'll have to hold back any of the water that is an increase. So the net runoff when it gets to downstream users is the pre-development flow. So they'll have a big hydrology study to go through to address all that so it doesn't impact everyone else. So our engineer is aware of it, aware of all of the flooding issues we've had downstream. So all of that will have to be addressed so that the post development doesn't impact all those downstream users. So they'll have to design it in such a way that mitigates those issues.
And we have some of the designs that we've gone through that also have retention ponds and other things in these areas where there will be impacts like that.
What's your thoughts on water, both culinary and sewer? Have you talked to Cartwright?
We've talked to Cartwright several times. We've done, I want to say, 2.5 studies and reports. One from Jones and DeMille and another one from Franson. The one that we're talking about here on this side was done by Franson of what water and sewer was available and what it would need to get there. And we have gone through the design, and that is possible, and it works. All the utilities and connections work in that environment, in that area.
Have you looked at this, Jeff? Jeff, have you looked at this?
There's no on this side here. There's not, the necessity of a tank is not here. It is not necessary. On the other side, there is.
I don't have enough pressure right now, and I live there.
Okay.
What about
So there'll be time for public comment in just a minute. So we can capture all that. So let's finish asking questions here, and then we can address the questions from the public.
And do you have plans to annex to Helper?
Do we have plans to do it?
Do you have thoughts to do it? Maybe that would be an easier answer.
Thoughts and considerations. We do not right now have a plan. We have thoughts and considerations.
Thank you. Michael, anything?
I would just bring up some of the things that Todd has here in the findings. potential soil problems with hillside development. Todd, did you want to elaborate on that? And then maybe he could answer some of that?
That's just some of the topography going up on that hill. They'll just have to address it. There's certain areas that with those slopes are difficult to put houses on.
And those are areas we're not planning on putting houses on. Remember, we had USU fly this, and this thing right here that we did, this is to eliminate that problem. So the idea is to follow existing topography and find areas where we minimize any sort of retaining walls or any sort of impact in those channels and those creeks.
So that's where my comment was based on, is be aware of certain areas are too steep to put them in there because of the slope and the soils. So,
and if you look right here, I mean, you can see it, each one of those little lines right there is like 10 feet. It's a huge amount of space. So when you see a lot of lines congregated together, that means it's a cliff. So when we went and did the overlay of where those things would allow, so if you look at the top, you can see kind of the 3D model of where that is. So we would only be able to build homes along those existing roads there, and we wouldn't be able to get anywhere near any of those areas because the topography is too steep.
So where's this snapshot of the topography compared to the actual overall site plan?
This snapshot here is like, I want to say in there-ish.
All right.
This was just an example of what we were doing, but it's right about in here-ish.
Anything else, Michael?
And then just the other question I had, and I'm assuming many of the public probably has the same question, would be access to the property with that many homes. I'm assuming that the roadway would need to be potentially widened. It would need to be improved. Any concerns from staff on that sort of thing?
So it was mentioned, getting in there, depending on the number of homes, some of those streets will have to be addressed, knowing exactly where they're going. Going in there is 2000 west, and then you have to turn left on 4630 and then go up past the cemetery. So some of those areas, it then turns into a dirt road, so those areas will all have to be addressed when we have an actual subdivision plat and concept. Those things can be, okay, here's the number of houses, here's the traffic, here's the size of road that's going to be needed for that area. So right now, those are all county roads. Depending on how many homes and what the access is will be depending on what would have to be done with the roads. So we've had some where the roads would need to be improved. We've had other projects to where there's enough capacity. It makes the street busier, but there's enough capacity. So we would need a final determination of exactly what's going to be accessed from there.
And I guess to follow up on that, would it be required by the county to have multiple access to these properties? The reason why I'm asking that is I live a subdivision right now. There's only one access. The access flooded a couple years ago, and I couldn't even get out of my neighborhood. So I'm wondering if that was the situation in some of these properties, is it going to be required to have multiple access?
So we would like, our preferred option is have multiple accesses. Sometimes the topography doesn't lend to it, so we'll have to address that, but the preferred option is to have multiple access so that we can, if one gets shut down, we can get people out. So, but we have to work with it, on the layout when it comes to us to figure out how we can make that happen.
That's all the questions I had, Chairman.
Gary?
I have no questions.
At this point, then, we'll turn the time over to the audience to ask questions.
Do you have more, Scott?
I have one more real
do
quick.
too.
Sorry, I hate to back up. I need that screen pulled back up again. This is just kind of a
Dave, yours fell
housekeeping.
asleep.
Mine?
Yeah,
Yours,
your computer fell asleep. That computer fell asleep.
Okay, let's see your password.
No, it's not. This is not my computer.
So
Wouldn't be any better if it was, but
So Todd, this is showing, 3 different areas here. And this one that's to the south and to the east is not one that we're considering here, right?
Yeah, so
There's one that's owned by the Utah Railway, but it's definitely showing some kind of improvements on that map.
So that's not part of it, the Utah Railway. The first draft maps I got from Dave included that little peninsula. So that's not part of it.
Okay.
So it's the parcel numbers, 02-0353. And the other one is 02-0431. Those are the two parcels that really are requesting zone change. So,
Okay, so we'd be removing 147 from this request.
yes.
Okay, all right, I have no further questions. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, that's fine.
I got a question, Todd. I'm sure he's been working on the project for a long time. You know, you're talking basically 1,000 acres of residential development in front of us for zone changing, which is, in my opinion, kind of mind-boggling. We deal with 5, 10, maybe 20s, it seems like at the most. Have you known about this for quite some time? And
So they came to us, last year, beginning March, April. They came and started asking questions of, hey, here's what we're thinking about doing. We're in the process of purchasing it, but we got to do our due diligence. We want to do some development. So we had some high-level talks of, okay, yeah, here's what's needed. You know, you'll have to get water to it. All the utilities will have to be done. If that is feasible and you guys can figure out a way to do it, then yes, our response is it can be zone changed if you can provide all the utilities and access to it. So they went through their due diligence over the number of months. Like he said, he's met with Prywide, they've met with us to go through those things. At times he has shown me different maps, and he mentioned they wanted to keep some of it close to the vest, so that's why I wasn't able to provide a lot more information to you. We got the minimum required for the zone change, and then I charged them with, okay, you're gonna have to make a presentation to the Planning Commission to explain more in detail, because I'm not able to with the information I have. So that's where with some of the high-level stuff they've done with the drones and Rocky Mountain Power and everything else that they've calculated and they've done. So with the information I've been presented, with the possibility of getting the utilities there, it's all there. It's all possible to do it. It just is going to take someone to write a check to be able to develop all that. But sell the land, however they finance it is up to them. But we've had high-level talks and then got into some specifics. Okay, we know there's some flat areas. That's where we want to put them. Wherever the topography will allow us, we want to pocket these developments. We got to avoid washes. We got to avoid some of these areas because we just can't put houses there. So they've done a lot of homework to calculate where they can put these homes and how to get all the utilities to them. So it's been almost a year in the making of going through everything.
If I can kind of answer the underlying piece of that question. One of the reasons that we've been so confidential about this is because for 9 months we did due diligence. We had to find out, we bought 14,000 acres. Doing due diligence of 14,000 acres is not a simple issue. Not only are we doing this, but we're buying an old mine that has contamination and all sorts of other things that could be potential. We had a lot of research that we did. But one of the things we wanted to do after meeting with the city and other people is we wanted to buy that site right there. We wanted to buy that railroad lot. What we didn't want to do is we didn't want the railroad and everyone else to know what was happening so that the price of that railroad lot skyrocketed and we couldn't do what we wanted to do. Unfortunately, we need to come do the zone change before we can negotiate with the railroad, so here we are. The railroad, of course, is taking its sweet time to decide whether or not what they're going to do, but the reason was for the confidentiality was that. We wanted to make sure that we could assemble and do the things we needed to do as land purchasers before we opened up too much to people who could cause us harm.
Thank you, sir. We'll now ask for public comments, and we're going to ask that you limit your comments or questions to 2 minutes, and Todd's going to time you, and I don't know what he'll do if you go over 2 minutes, probably just hit you, but, so try and limit it to 2 minutes. So why don't you go ahead and sit down, and then you can respond if you need to these.
You want me to respond to each one, or should we take notes and we'll respond at the end? Because if we're doing 2 minutes for everyone in the world, will be a long time. Well, how should we do it?
We're going to listen to everybody that wants to talk and ask that people don't repeat what their neighbors said.
Okay.
And identify themselves as they come to the podium.
Okay, my name's George Milchak. I'm right in the middle of his development. And a lot of my concerns are same as you guys, but what are the plans with the runoff and additional developments above my house? I'm aware people have had retention ponds in the back, but what happens when one breaks? Who's going to be liable for it 10 years down the road? They're going to be gone. Homeowners are going to say, hey, I didn't do this. Is the county going to step up and do it, or what? You know, to pay for my repairs on my place. All right. Anyway, due to my location, if people are building up on the hill and using heavy equipment, they're going to tear the heck out of my place. Scott just brought in a track hoe beside my house today. A little one, tiny one. And I could feel the vibration in the house. When they tore the tank down, I thought my house was getting a tank dropped on it. That's how hard that rock is. And, you know, it's going to really, if they got to use dynamite to blow that hill, what's going to happen to my place? My shop, especially. Somebody would be in trouble for that one. You know, because I'd have to build a new one. Anybody going to build me a new one? What if the access through my property? I own the bottom of that. 40 feet right through across the bottom. And I'm really worried about all of this. Current roads are not big enough. I don't want to have anything to do with Pryor and sewer. We went through that when I was on 1000 South. And we had a major concern with that. It took me 3 years to resolve that issue. You know, when you're having issues like that, and plus also on 1000 South, that road wasn't wide enough. They put how many more homes out that way, and still nothing done with the road. If I was there, I'd be throwing a fit right now because my grandkids couldn't play. What are the utilities? You know, I'm going to have to hook onto that sewer too, and that's going to cost me money. You know, where I'm on septic, I bought that septic tank when I moved there. I take good care of it. Now I'm going to have to hook onto sewer, and that's a waste of money. For me, I got to watch my money. I'm not rich. You know, and I think it's within 200 feet of your home you have to hook onto it. 0, 3. There's no way I'm going to be hooking onto it. There's another deal. My house will be falling apart, and we'll have all this, and they'll be long gone. Homeowners are going to say goodbye. But not my fault. And as far as, you know, geologists and whatnot, some guys that are living in Huntington Canyon right now, they said it was safe to mine. And it wasn't. Now they're gone. Same with this. You know, it may not show up the first year. It could show up 3, 4, 5 years down the road. Then I'm out of luck.
Okay, that's 2 minutes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. Tom Matthews, morning. And Christian, I brought some evidence. You told them they had to have evidence. Here's a picture. I don't know if you want me to handle it. You can pass it along. Of what 2000 West is like. And the part this gentleman says you just have to move over. I don't take that lightly. Yeah, you said that people just have to move over for us a little bit to get you in there, or make that comment. I don't think that's good. On that road coming off 2000 West, coming off the Kenilworth Road, the road is 28 feet wide. Right now, there's 11 feet of snow, 5 feet on one side, 6 feet on the other side. So you have 14 feet of actual pavement. You have 6 driveways on there, and when a car comes, you have to pull into one driveway the other way to meet them. The 4630 north, it's wide enough to come down. When you come to the bottom, there is no way you can control your water once you hit the bottom of that road. And also on 2000 West, there's a major power line comes right up and down 2000 West. There's no way of moving that road to widen that road. And I just took a few things down. Sewer is very, very important. That's all ledge and rocks. You can't put retention ponds. When the canal company went up there 20 years ago, we had to shoot and blast, and Shane Campbell had a 245 track in there to come off that 30-foot ledge. There's no way without shooting and blasting. The traffic, if you do have 2 connections, you're going to put a lot more on that 2000 West. Zone to Helper, I'm against letting Helper City zone into my backyard. And the water and sewer. It's not adequate there to get in there. I have 3 PRVs on my line to make my stock waters work because the pressure is too high now. But you take up part of the upper part of Spring Glen, you don't have enough pressure on there. And I just think there are things I appreciate, and I don't think it should go through. I think we at least should delay it, get more information on what they're doing. But that much traffic by my house, and I own part of that there. And at one time, I gave the county 20 feet of that road. Now I'm wishing I wouldn't have, to try and make the road wider going up by mine and mill checks. I shouldn't have done that. So I appreciate you letting us talk to us. And
2 minutes.
that's it.
Thanks, Tom.
You want me to leave that or just take that, or unless anybody wants to see that, or what you guys want for your thing?
If the county keeps it, are you going to send them a bill for the pictures?
Hey, and the other thing is, if I probably would have had my wife's kindergarten class do this, she probably could have done a better job. I looked at you guys do it.
I'm David Ariotti. I'm a licensed professional engineer, and I live by Tom over in that area at the end of 2000 West. A lot of concerns. My first concern is 2000 West. It's not wide enough. In addition to what Tom said, there's foot traffic on that road. And the only way you're going to protect foot traffic is if you were to widen that road. You can't widen the road. It's Tom's property. The houses are too close. Well, you need sidewalks there. I mean, children are up and down that road all the time. The stop sign at Kenilworth Road, you have to creep out almost into the road to even see up Kenilworth Road. It's not a safe intersection. The second thing is, how are you going to sewer that property? Because I don't know that you can sewer at gravity. It'll probably require a pump station. If you do septic tank and drain field, all that rock that lies under the hill, it's going to go down, it's going to find that impervious layer, and we're going to have a nice green belt all the way around that hill, right above Tom. When they water the lawns, same thing as Hilltop Subdivision. And if you've been around Carbon County long enough, you know what happened there. They have water problems in Hillside Subdivision because of that subdivision. So there's numerous problems just geologically on that side. I could, go on and on, but I think those are the major water pressure. Another problem, I don't have hardly enough water pressure at my house. And I'm on the upper end, like one of the higher homes. I guess it'd be several homes there, Dale Robertson and some others over in the middle of Spring Glen. But we
2 minutes.
have enough water pressure there.
No.
That's my daughter. She
Just
her time.
2 minutes
Can I have
per
her
person.
time?
No, we're not granting time. It's 2 minutes per person.
I'm Melissa Cartwright. Go ahead.
No.
Tell me.
You can just, it basically.
Have you talked to the water treatment plant? Anything have to be done there?
Well, no, but I don't know about water storage. Even water storage up there might be a problem. I don't know that we have the storage. They mention engineering. I know Franson engineers. I know Jones and DeMille, but I don't see any solid engineering reports. The other problem is that if you approve the zone change and then they come back with a subdivision, are you going to say that you're going to condemn property to widen that road? We don't want that. I think some of this planning has to be done now. And if you're going with the fourplexes, what if they decide they want fourplexes above Tom's house? You going to allow them? I think this thing has not been thought all the way through. That's.
If anybody wants the rest of mine.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, my name's Brent Passerella, and I'm a resident of Spring Glen, just across from where this proposal is. And I just want to say I'm totally against it, and I think if they do any changes, zoning changes in Kenilworth or Spring Glen, they need to do an environmental impact study on it, because there's wildlife up there, there's so much, like he was saying, there's drainage, there's just so many things they need to look at before they make a decision.
How close does that come to your property?
It's probably 3/4 of a mile.
Okay.
But it's like over the hill. Thank you.
I'm going to need more than 2 minutes, but I'm assuming since you gave Black Hawk Ranch more than 2 minutes, I'll take more too.
No, 2 minutes.
The board members, and I'll continue in the next zone meeting as well.
Slip your mask
For Black
off,
Hawk, first of all, my concerns are safety related as well as farming related and water related, etc. This proposal would open residents to Spring Glen up to additional safety concerns from traffic perspectives. And depending on where the entrances and exits from the parcels are going to be, any subdivision with an 8,000 size lot will adversely impact Spring Glen Road, 2000 West, and Kennelsworth Road. Looking at some of the facts and based on parcel numbers given at the public notice, we are looking at around 1,351 acres plus 108 acres going to 4-8K for a total of 1,459 acres, which is about 63 million square feet. At 8,000 square feet per lot, that's 7,945 lots. If we say roads, sidewalks, gullies take half the space, that still leaves 3,972 lots. At 10 trips per lot per day, that's at least going to be another 39,729 trips. Even if they say 500 lots or 400 lots, it's still 4,000 or 5,000 trips a day, or even more for multifamily residents in the 4-8 zone. Keeping in mind that Spring Glen Road was well over the traffic maximum in 2016 with 2,825 trips per the Utah State Information Resource, and current traffic on the road makes it difficult to even safely cross the road.
2 minutes.
We're going to fit another where are we going to fit another 5,000 trips? It seems to me that these people have come in here and said that they have talked to all of you people, but it doesn't sound like they really have. And I think it's premature in us moving forward with a zone change that allows them to do whatever they want once you change it. It doesn't matter if today they're telling you it's going to be 300 lots. They can do whatever that zone allows for. And you're not going to have a lot of room to prevent them from doing that. Other things on the roads, the blue access to the Highway 6 is also another issue, with multiple accidents and traffic backups for multiple vehicles trying to enter the Highway 6 are common. At the other intersection at 2000 West and Kennelsworth Road, not only is that a pinch point on the road width, but it's also poor visibility from 2000 West. The county master plan requires the county to preserve smooth traffic flow with adequate right-of-ways for heavier traffic, bicycle paths, and trails. I don't think we can meet these requirements with such a small lot size on any of the mentioned roads. Another safety concern is dealing with the police protection. Is the county ready to provide police presence for the development of this possible size?
Okay,
We have
that's all.
farming concerns.
Time.
We need to move on to the next speaker.
Okay. I will come back with pages 4 through 6 and finish it in the next one.
Hello, I am Ashley Hardy, and I have 2 questions. If you are to develop, are you hiring for construction locally or out of Mapleton? And I want to know what the purchasing price of these homes will be. How much will a townhome cost? And how much will a single-family home cost? Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheryl Lupo. I have a couple of questions. Who will pay for the infrastructure, for the whole infrastructure on the whole project? And not being...
Cheryl, face the microphone, please.
Oh, okay. And not be given back to the county later after everything's been built? And are you the developer of this project? I agree with everything that Lena had said. Also, what about snow removal? I know up at Eagle, up there, the county will not do snow removal because it's owned by, I think it's Mel Coonrod, that area. So who's going to do the snow removal, or is that going to fall on the county? What's the cost going to be for that? But that's about all I have.
Thank you, Cheryl. Seeing nobody else jump up, do you want to respond to these and give your opinion?
I'm Dale Wilson. I'm involved with the North Carbon Project, which is 4 canal companies. We have a pipeline, several pipelines in that area, talking around the
Sneak your mask off so we can hear you.
I'm sorry.
Thanks, Bill.
The canal companies have some pipelines in that area. Excuse me? Should I?
Yeah, I think he's almost finished.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I thought you were asking me something. So anyway, I didn't hear him mention that, and I don't know of any contact that they know that infrastructure is in the ground there, and so that needs to be considered. It's comes through the mountain there, and it's by the cemetery, by Tom's house, and up goes over the hill. It's all, pipelines everywhere. So I just wanted to be aware of that. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Ralph Sacramento, and I live on 1700 West Kenilworth Road, and I have approximately 45 acres north of that road. The Black Hawk mining is adjacent to my property. And if they get the access to that, would that access be guaranteed to my property, or would I have to go through a whole new thing again? That's what concerns me. Plus, the roads, everybody's already said it. Kenilworth Road is, 35-mile-an-hour road, but I don't think there's one person here that goes 35 miles an hour on that road. And that's all I got to say. Thank you for your time.
Just mention to you that that's one of the things we look at when the subdivision plats are filed and those things is proper access so that they don't screw up the surrounding property. So we do look at that when the subdivisions are platted.
I'd appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Hey, Todd, would it be appropriate for Mr. Combs to answer the questions addressed so we don't lose them? Or are you going to keep track of them all and repeat them?
I've been trying to keep track, and it looks like Dave's also keeping track too, so.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Shani Ariati, and I would like to know which part of the road will be paved and which will be gravel, and if there was planning for school buses. Right now, there's not enough room for a school bus and a garbage truck on our road. And those are my questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Goldsmith. I live on 2nd East in Helper, and I have a couple concerns. One is there's a paintball range on some of that property that's been bought, and I'm wondering if that's going to be in place. I'm also concerned about the wildlife on the Helper side of things. And then my third concern is the Spring Glen Canal bisects our property, and I, in the summertime, walk that property to where the tunnel used to be almost daily. And sometimes the pipe breaks, and sometimes there's water that goes out into the area, which is not a problem now, but if there's housing there in the future, it could be. So that's a concern I have. So, and that's it.
Thank you, ma'am.
I know I didn't use my 2 minutes. I have one more question. Cheryl,
You got 28 seconds.
Water shares. What kind of water shares are they? How many shares are they? Are they Spring Glen Canal shares? Are they Price River water shares? What are they, and how many? Is it direct flow? Is it high water, low water, in between water? Is it, because there's so many different water chutes, so just
Gotcha.
curious. That's a question. So.
Thank you. Mr. Richens.
Hi, my name's Jeff Richens. I'm here with two different hats. Price for Water Improvement District, will start there first. So when this property was purchased from Black Rock Coal, there were a good number of shares, which are reservoir shares, which came along with that purchase. So there's not a question of whether they have enough or adequate water shares. The question has also been brought up about water pressure. Now, where Mr. Ariotti lives, they're on the low pressure side of a pressure control vault. And that's why his pressure isn't nearly as high enough to go to the top of the cliff. But if you talk to Mr. Matthews, he's got high pressure because he's on the other side of the vault, which there is enough pressure to push it up to the top of the cliff. So this has been measured, it's been evaluated by Jones and DeMille. There is a problem with access, getting that up there. There's a problem getting sewer back off of the cliff and down. But those things can be engineered and they can be taken care of. The other question came up with cost. Black Hawk, I made that problem several times now. Black Hawk has addressed a lot of those problems and they put some numbers together. And to date, they are funding this whole thing. Will that change? I don't know. They may make a request for financial assistance. But as of right now, the district has no plans. We've not discussed any kind of compensation. I don't think Carbon County has discussed any kind of compensation for the development. So now I'm going to switch hats. I'm also the president of the Carbon School Board. There is a concern of ours with school kids because right now, when the school bus does come through there, it's the only thing that fits. And so you're going to have to widen these roads significantly to be able to make it so the buses can get around and pick up students. And putting an access point from the south side up the cliff is going to require a bit of a grade, some kind of a dugway almost. And I'm not sure that would be considered safe for bus traffic. So I'm not sure how that's going to be answered. So I would just make a request from this commission, I think that's your title. Consider tabling this request until Helper City has a chance to chime in on whether they want to annex it into their jurisdiction. And if they want to do that, then that can be their access and their questions and their residents, and it won't be a split. Because I do agree with a lot of the comments, when you zone it for 8,000 square feet per lot, it doesn't matter if it's a 2-acre lot or a 5-acre lot. The buyer down the road is going to say, I have excess property. I want to re-subdivide. And that will be a problem to the infrastructure as a whole. Thank you.
Mr. Richards, don't run away. You have talked before about additional water pressure needs and pumping, that sort of thing. Prywide did some upgrades on that a few years ago. Would there be additional costs if they use Prywide water?
So where we're talking right now, in those 2 40-acre parcels next to Helper City, that would not need to be pumped. If we're going to be talking about those properties up around Kenilworth, that's a different discussion. It will need to be pumped. It will need new tanking, things like that.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Mike Metzger. I love discussion. I love this process. I love everything everybody said, and I hope you consider all of it. I do want to share a slightly different perspective that doesn't discount anything you've said. Please don't hate me for what I'm going to say. Still call me to sell your houses. But there's another perspective that I feel like needs to be shared. Today in Carbon County, 19 homes for sale. Historically, 100 to 500. Price City, 9. Helper, 2. Wellington, 2. The rest is in the outlying county areas. We think our biggest export here in Carbon County has been coal for the last 100 years. It hasn't. It's been our children. Because there hasn't been places for them to work, hasn't been places for them to live. And that's the biggest concern right now, is we have a housing crisis. And the only way to solve that crisis is inventory. This may not be the right solution, or maybe there's a tweak on it. That's up to you guys. And I love the comments, because this brings all these ideas that need to be flushed into the plan. But I also want to speak that there is a need for new development in the county. There is a need. There's companies that are going to be hiring, and as it was stated, there's not housing adequate for them right now. We have 19 homes. How many people can an employer hire at 19 homes that their people could live? Not that many. If we want opportunity here and we want to grow at some level, at any level, this is something that would need to happen. Maybe this isn't the place. That's for everybody else to decide. But in Carbon County, if we want to break out of the status quo and take advantage of these opportunities that employers are going to bring to this area, that they've committed to the state of Utah to bring to this area, we need to have homes for these folks to stay in. Be that in Price City, be that Helper City, and in the county as a large, there is a need for this. So I just would like to put that out there, not to discount anything that's been said. They're valid concerns that need to be addressed and mitigated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Was that the 2-minute warning?
That was a 2-minute warning.
Hi, I wasn't going to get up here. My name's Bonnie Villa, and I would just like to make a comment on what Mike just said. I know that there's a shortage of houses in Carbon County, but I'd like to ask how many of those houses that are being filled are being filled by local people or people come from out of town. Judging from my taxes, most of them are coming from out of town, and they're paying a lot more money than local people have, so which is also raising our taxes. And also to put houses in, I think there's a lot better places that aren't so tight and hard to get to and bad access, and they're going to affect so many extra places that there's tons of places in Carbon County for people to build that's a lot better than this place that's been proposed. I agree with what's been said about the access to Highway 6. Just as a person that lives there and has grandkids and et cetera, I feel bad every time somebody has to pull on that road because I've seen so many accidents, and I'm sure that needs to be addressed, and I'm sure somebody with a lot of money can go ahead and say, yeah, we'll fix that too. But will they, and when's that going to happen? I've heard a lot of talk, but I don't see things in paper, and I don't see it happening. I know people could say, well, these people, they will help fix that. They'll bring taxes in and all that good stuff, and we'll help fix that. But there is so many other road issues there, and when you're talking about that road to Kenilworth and talking about being 15% capacity, that's clearly absurd because that's a poor road, and that's not a road that anybody likes to travel in the winter, and there's a lot of accidents, not just on US 6, but going on to 2000 West, like has been stated, it's very hard to see around those corners. There's a lot of children. All those houses are going to bring a lot more children. Where are those children going to run? Where are they going to play? Where are they going to ride their ATVs? Where is all this going to happen? And most of it's in my backyard. And we run cows, and we'd have a bunch of other things there. And another thing about water, we have no water pressure, haven't had for ever. And we don't have enough white water to keep our fire hydrants. And so I've heard a lot of talk about
2 minutes.
water, but I don't know, haven't seen anything done about it. So I would like to see some concrete evidence on a lot of things, not just engineering. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Villa.
Hello, my name's Ryan Keel. I have a quick question for the commission. I have most of my concerns for the next public comment, but I have a question on this. Can I do both as long as I keep it under 2 minutes? Thank you. So again, I'm Ryan Keel. I have property that's close to Kenilworth. I'll talk about that on the next one. But my question is kind of what she said. First off, thanks for the presentation. We know you have to keep things confidential. You know, it's tough. We understand. I agree with what some people said about needing some homes in the area. I'm going to be building. We've been kind of keeping an eye out. There's not a lot of inventory. But one thing I'm noticing is, what's the price of the homes? I spent an unfortunate year in Vegas, and then many unfortunate years in Utah County. And time after time, it's economy price home. It's affordable housing. But they build boxes that are high density. And now all of a sudden they're $380,000, $400,000. And they're saying, oh, they're extremely affordable for the amount of square footage. They're brand new, it's worth more. And that's my concern. And as we've been looking at houses loosely, I see a lot of houses. Now it's a weird year, but there's a lot of people holding out that are asking double. There were some houses for sale on part of price. We can't find them right now. They were asking $420,000 for a small twin home, okay? And it's, why are you asking so much? And the answer is, well, somebody will come down from Utah County. They'll pay that. They're moving out. Somebody's coming from California. I just sold mine for double. Great for them. Totally understand. But needing more housing, I'd like to see, is there a plan to make it more affordable? Is there a way to make it so, like many of these residents have said, can people in the county afford them? If we want them to stay here, if we want them to grow here, grow jobs, how do we make that affordable? And the last thing is what you said in your presentation. Thanks for keeping some green space. I'll address some of that on our next part. But I support high efficiency, low light, green area, low impact homes. That's how we're building ours, because that's how we like it.
2 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's going to be our last comment from the audience, and I'd like you to respond to a couple of those questions you were taking notes on.
You're going to do 2 minutes?
And the magic word is quickly.
Yeah, well, I can solve one of the problems and answer all the questions at the same time. So, here. Do you mind?
No.
Okay. I'll go through quickly and answer the questions, and then I'll solve one of the problems. Number one, there's no way that whoever, the kind lady who stood up and has a really interesting calculator, no possible way can that many lots go on the property. We're at 400, 450-ish, somewhere like that, and that's a stretch. The retention basins breaking, I'm not sure what kind of retention basins that we were talking about, but the retention basins we're talking about are divots in the ground. They don't break. They're divots in the ground that have an overflow, and the overflow goes in to maintain and regulate the effluent that comes off of the hard area into the retention basin and flows out at the same rate that FEMA and BLM and everybody else have experienced for all the rest of the time. Addressing the equipment next door to the construction. The construction people are going to have to be careful, and everybody's going to have to work together, but the size of these lots and the distance away from the existing property are going to mitigate and reduce a little bit of that.
You're going right past my house.
There will be, I'm sure there will be. There will be some, you can't have anything being constructed next to something, there's not going to be some, but we have to follow county standards and other standards. We have to reduce dust, and we can't, anybody who develops can't do that, whether it's you personally building a house or somebody else. Everybody has to be conscious and kind to their neighbors. Let's see, just move over. I didn't ever say that. Yeah.
In relation to the deer.
Oh, the deer have to move over.
The deer have to move over.
Yeah, not you, the deer. So, well, I'm referring specifically down to the lower area where I was talking about the BLM lands down in that corner, and then the other 13,000 acres that are above that we own. So yes, there's going to be some movement, but I wasn't referring to you move over. Okay.
Let's keep it just to
anything that we do has to be brought up to county standard, whatever it is. The roads, the area for the school bus turnaround, how many ingress and egress we have in and out of the location, and yes, your photographs. Everything has to be upgraded if that's what's required in that particular area. When we were talking about the 15% was of design capacity on 157. So as far as the water is concerned, and I think Jeff spoke to this, in order for this to occur, we have to upgrade all of the water, sewer, gas, electric systems on the entire property. And again, that question that I just answered is for everything that we're talking about, not just this piece. But we have to upgrade everything that we touch because we're going to bring more capacity. So everybody's system around there will be upgraded and the longevity of their service will be improved because we have to upgrade it. Who's going to pay for it? Right now, we're paying for it, but my hope is that Biden will pay for it. That's my hope. We are spending a lot of time and effort with senators and congressmen attempting to get more money allocated to Carbon County so that that infrastructure and that growth can be funded. Safety concerns we talked about. The 400 lots. So the impact of the people driving on the roads with the lots that we have planned. Remember what I said in the very beginning. One of the keys I said to Randy and the partners when we first started looking at this property, and I've said it to the county commission, to the mayor, to everybody else, the key to your growth and longevity is your cable and fiber optic system. That whoever wrote that program, whoever got that grant, should be made king for a day in your county. Because what that allows for is you guys have better service and better fiber optic and better communication with the world than almost anybody. In my house in Heber, I had to have 2 separate systems just barely to live. You guys have, so we went all the way to the top of this giant mountain where there's nobody except for elk, and there was a sign that said fiber optic cable underneath here. Well, there's never going to be a house up there, so our elk are going to be really well connected to the world, but that is going to allow for these remote workers to come here and to not have to use all the roads all the time and not be in rush hour traffic and things. Pardon? No, up on the top. I said up on the top. Yeah, no, we know that. So somebody also said that as soon as we get a zone change, we can do whatever we want. We can't do whatever we want. Not only have we had to tailor and wanted to tailor our zone application and the purchase of the property to whatever county standards and whatever the city was looking for in the future, every single project, every single parcel of this, as it comes up for individual approval, has to meet all the county standards. Engineering, topography, water runoff, electric, water, gas, everything has to meet county standards. Ingress, egress, everything. So we can't do whatever we want. We want, and I don't know that the county would mind if we did whatever we want because everything they've asked us to do, we've done. So we have to follow those regulations and guidelines, and we're happy to do so. We want to be good neighbors. Hiring locals. We would love to hire as many locals as we possibly can. I don't think there's a lot, are there? So we're going to hire, when the development happens, whatever local people are available for the construction, of course they're going to be used. Now, we can't control all of that information, but one of our challenges in any development that we do is we would have to, the cost to develop here is extremely high, but the ability to sell the lots is extremely low. So if we were to develop on the Wasatch side, we would have a half-acre lot. It would cost $50,000, $60,000 to develop the lot, and we'd sell it for $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. That's not even possible here. So we have to be very careful in everything that we do in order to allow for that difference. The cost of the houses was brought up. You can't control the cost of these houses. What we can do is we can follow the guidelines of the city and the county and the neighborhood to desire to have the smaller, more economical houses. I was recently in California, and looking out of the window of where I was 60 miles away from the port of Long Beach. And I could count between the ocean that I saw and Catalina, I could count 8 boats, 8 big ships, 60 miles away from Catalina. There's 100 ships out there. And the stuff that's on the boat in Long Beach has been sitting there for months and months and months. The reason I tell you that is because all the other projects that we work on and all the other construction issues that we have are sitting on the Port of Long Beach and have a huge problem with getting anything off in construction stuff. We don't know how long that's going to last. Our intent is to bring in a multiple type of houses, the smaller ones, the starter homes, and in that center area in 157, the larger lots, larger homes, something different, but on the Kenilworth side and on the side on Helper, to make those smaller starter homes. That's the intent. That's what we've been working with the city and with the county to develop. In-ground infrastructure, we understand that it's there. Someone spoke that do we know where the pipelines are? We know where the pipelines are. I don't know that we know where all of them are. There's 120 years of mines in there. But we have, when I said that we have done the due diligence on where the infrastructure, the existing infrastructure, the title and all that other stuff, we've gone through all of those lines and where they are, and yeah, it's spaghetti underneath there in some spots. So yes, we know that. Any roads that we work on will be paved. Per county standard, we're not planning on doing any asphalt or any gravel or anything like that. I think I answered, water shares. We have both types. We have a lot of both types.
Both types of what?
Both types of water shares.
I know, but there's water shares out of Price River, water shares out of...
They have Price River Water Users Association, and they have Spring Lake.
Yeah.
So we have both.
You have Spring Lake? Yeah.
You want some?
If you didn't have addressing 2000 West interests.
No more questions.
I just want to say that there's an address.
So let me solve the problem if I can.
You got 27 seconds. Get after it.
Not my problem, it's not my computer, but I'll do my best.
Turn your mic around.
Oh yeah, sorry. I don't think anybody wants to hear from me anymore anyway. Can we put this up? Okay, one of the other changes that we want to make tonight is just in going forward, and like we talked about, it's quite a number of acres, but the area that we're talking about developing is about 400 acres, not 1,200, not 1,300. I'm not sure where all those came from, but it's about 400 acres. Is this happening?
Don't quit your day job and become a computer tech.
Yeah, there it is.
27 seconds, I'm working on it.
Technical difficulty. But I think you've answered the question on that it's a smaller segment and not the whole property.
Oh, there we go. I see Panasonic. Todd, am I right in assuming that each one of the subdivisions, the individual subdivisions, will also come before her? So let's be clear so that everybody understands. We're talking about just a zone change now, not approval of individual subdivisions or parcelization or lots or any of that kind of stuff.
I understand the request.
Okay. So I'm back off microphone for a minute. So this lower piece right here we can take that off of high density. So a lot of the questions that they had about, oh, it's right next to my property, that piece also can go back into the half acre. The only piece that really is the higher density in this particular thing is that parcel right there. So we can amend this application because those lots and what we had planned there are the half acre anyway. So that piece can stay half acre, and this piece, the piece that's closer to Helper, can be the one that can stay in the high density. So that will solve several of their issues about they had houses adjacent and what happens with the road. We still have to upgrade the road, but you're going to have a lot less houses here at the half acre. Okay? I think that's that right now. They can do that right now on the fly. So done?
Done. We're going to take a 5-minute break.
Excellent.
0:50.
We're going to come back in 5 minutes and review this and determine whether it will be forwarded to the commissioners.
But before you adjourn, if we're done with public comment, let's close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. The item number is 11.
Second. I'll second.
Blackhawk Ranch.
Favored, say aye.
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 All right. I know I'm going to take a break.
It's inconsistent. Talk to those guys over there. Talk to the commissioners.
That's against the law. You have to deliberate openly.
Deliberate
Unless it's about the competence of an individual or
right.
financial in nature.
Supposedly not. I don't believe them.
And we don't have any of those powers.
We don't want to do that.
Okay, thanks.
That doesn't make
request is to have it R4 8,000.
R4 8,000.
So
Okay.
4 units per 8,000 square foot, so they could do multifamily homes.
And I saw something in here about R 1,000, so I'm sorry.
Yes, that's the other
Okay,
public.
so 2-413 as R4 8,000 and 2-353 as R1 20,000, pending all of the required engineering and staff reports and information that staff would feel comfortable with. That would be my motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second that.
All those in favor of the replacement motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay.
Okay.
Opposed,
Okay.
count.
On the nays?
Nay.
Kurt Scott Trapper on the nays.
Motion doesn't carry. So your motion will carry. We voted on that, so we're set to go. Do you understand that?
So we'll need a time for them to bring it back.
The studies are done, right? So.
Not next month, for the month.
But we
So
need,
February?
Some of the studies are done. We'll have to talk to the staff about what level they need in which areas. But yes.
yeah, that's what we need, is the assurances from the staff at the county that they've reviewed this and it fits their standards. The next item we have is a public hearing on a possible change to Carbon County zoning map from M&G to R1-8,000 located in the Kenilworth area. Parcels 2-430, 2-432, 2-438, 2-439, 2-499 for Black Hawk Ranch. And I know you hate this, but could you tell us just a little bit what you're doing on those parcels?
Open the hearing first.
I hope you're not driving back tonight.
I'll have to go to the map. Okay, so the parcels we're talking about now are not this one, not those two, only these here and these right around Helper, or right around Kenilworth, excuse me. Okay, so not this 0499, not those middle ones, and not this also, which is 0490002, not this railroad lot.
So are you going to remove 0499 from the request?
Yes, and yes. Same information as before.
So does he have the permission from the railroad to do his own change on there?
So
We
in
removed it.
the advertisement of it, the Utah Railroad property was never included in any advertisement. I think they had the idea, but it was never included in any legal notices. It was the ones we discussed earlier. But the Utah Railroad was never included in any legal advertising.
Right, and this map, remember, again, this map is the aerial map showing the topography. So these three maps are all related to the aerial, the civil engineering, and the topography. So these are not necessarily, we're developing this, those are drainage courses, and so that was why that map was created. And again, like I said earlier, part of the confidentiality from the beginning is we were attempting to buy that parcel.
That ought to do it, thanks.
It's going now. We had some issues.
Questions from the panel? Hearing none.
Hang on, I got a question.
Okay.
So the question, I don't have a problem with that, the first one we talked about that will go out towards Helper, but the one that comes down the Kenilworth Road, this one and the one that will come off past Tom Matthews. I mean, is the county going to have them set aside any money to help improve Spring Glen intersection where it meets Highway 6? Because that's going to be an issue.
So we've moved on from that agenda item.
Well, this affects it. I mean, this is up above it and it goes down.
It's up above it, so.
I think most people will come down there, so. I was gonna ask the question last time, but
So depending on the amount of traffic and the use and the number of lots developed, they'll have to be addressed. If it impacts it and to where it exceeds the level of service, they'll have to address it. If the level of service isn't exceeded and it meets the design standards, then they won't have to do anything. It ties into the state highway, so they'll have
it's a
to.
state highway that ties into a state highway. So, but the state we make a lot of developers put some money up to help improve places like this. You know, in Moab we do it all the time, but this might be a place we need to look at because it is really close to needing to be overhauled. So.
We haven't ever done that. So I think as more information is provided, I think that's something we'll have to address with Blackhawk. We haven't made developers set aside any money to do intersections. They've had to create a secondary access where they're not on a collector road, some of those things, but we're set money up front. We haven't had developers do that.
Anything, Scott?
No, no question.
Anything?
I have no questions.
Gary?
I have no questions.
Trapper?
Can I just say one quick thing? We're not the developers, we're the owners. It's a big difference. We own all this land. We're not just developers that are going to come in, do something, and leave. We actually own 14,000 acres. That's it.
Appreciate that. Now we'll open it up for public comment on this with the public hearing. And
motion to open public hearing to item number 13.
I'll second it.
Change to the Blackhawk Ranch property.
Okay, I'll second that.
Hello? Are we good? We good?
I'm sorry, we need to vote on the prior item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Now you're up.
Thank you very much. Again, my name is Ryan Keel. My wife and I own a piece of land under Kenilworth. So that's why I'm here tonight. And thank you for your time, and thank you for your time again presenting. First off, I'd just like to say, look, I'm not against development. I would be thoroughly against this. I am, without knowing a little bit more. And I'm not just talking the county studies. So we talk about density. We appreciate that green land. We appreciate them keeping the stuff above Helper way up there, 3,400 acres. I like that. I'd like to go hike in there. But saying we keep a lot of green land because we have 3,400 acres and then we have a few hundred acres we're going to put 400 homes is a different thing. That's like saying Springville's low density because the Wasatch Mountains don't have anybody living in them. Sorry, but that's as blatant as it is. I would like to see a plan, not just right now he's proposing it on thoughts and comment, concerns. We don't see a plan. And Mr. Bldg made a good point. If you zone it, you can doze everything there. And you'll say legally you can't, and certain parts you can't. But I have a 5-acre lot that's extremely challenging. It's costing a lot to do it because I'm keeping the drainages all natural. With the money that a place like this could have, you could doze all of that, redo drainage. Think of Eagle Mountain. Think of the point of the mountain. Think of places like that. That entire thing has been dozed and it all has drainages. So that's why I would like to see a plan. I'm not against this. I'm against high density. And I think the county really wants to see the plan. How big are the lot sizes on that area? How big are the homes? We've already talked about infrastructure, but fire protection. I've got it on good authority from people who know, not official, that the water tank in Kenilworth, it's only got a little capacity, but he's made a point. What happens when you have a wildland fire? That's our biggest concern up there. There's no water to fight fires. It's going quick. So can they put up a bond to to help with that? Can they put up a bond for turning onto Highway 6? Like you said, that's a death trap. We've seen deaths there before over the years. You know, can they do something like that? That's what I'd like to see. I'd just like to see a good plan.
2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Barry, turn on the air.
Hi, my name is George Conk. Live in Kenilworth. 35 years. Seen a lot of water problems. They tried to put some homes above before, and they wouldn't let them do it because of the drainage. I've personally shoveled out more than one home in Kenilworth, and they want to put homes above us. The Bldg, Gas and Mining, has done 3 times. They've done the wash. The last one was $3 million almost, and they had trouble. I'd hate to be living down in Spring Glen like Matt Wise, who lost all his basement and is very fortunate. If your choice that his kids didn't get killed, he lives right there below the tracks in Spring Glen, and it flooded him out, come through the basement windows. Fire-wise, we only have one way. Hate to see this like Boulder, Colorado. What was there, 20,000 people? They had to evacuate. Where are we going to evacuate? A good chance there'd be a fire come up through there. Go across the clay banks, that's all you got. If it's summer, one car breaks down, nobody can escape. The highway's too small. You get behind somebody coming down the hill, you can't pass them legally until you get to Graco's Tire. The water grant we paid on for 20 years for our water sewer system. Then we gave it to Price River Water after we paid for it. These guys aren't paying anything for that, tying into it. And you can't cross that wash. I live right there by that wash where they're looking at that lower part going over. Plus, you're taking the tube in the hill for
2 minutes.
kids.
I'm Jesse McCourt. I share a property line with Blackhawk, about 700 or 800 feet worth. The current zoning in our area there is RR5. This proposal is to go R18K. My understanding, that's one home in every 8,000 feet. That's less than quarter-acre spacing on homes. I would consider that to be extremely high density. If my wife would let me, I'd be a hermit. That's why I moved up there. But I ask that you would deny this and at least increase the zoning size there to at least the RR5 that's already there. I understand they own the property. They have rights to develop their property, but this zoning of 18K is way out of line for this area. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Jukes. I also live in Eagle Cliff, and I also share a property boundary with Blackhawk. I echo all the sentiments that Jesse just expressed. I have a huge problem with the density of homes in that particular area. The reason we built up in Eagle Cliff, I grew up in Kenilworth, is the quiet, the open space, the green space. So the appeal in living in Eagle Cliff was having that open space, the large acre size property, and now they could put literally high density homes 100 feet from my property boundary. So, you know, the subdivision up there was done with green space and open space in mind. We had to blend our homes into the environment. We had a certain type color of homes. We went through all that. We like the viewscape. We like the green space. I guess he has a different idea of green space than I do, but putting 100 homes in a line this far apart is not, that's not green space. So I hope you deny it. I have a big problem with it. I'm not against development. I'm not against building homes, but it should blend in with the environment. And what's there now in Eagle Cliff If it looked like that further down, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But having curb and gutter and paved streets literally off my property line, I'm very opposed to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, one thing I did want to answer for you on those calculations. Basically what I did is took each of the parcels that you had, went to the tax notices, got the number of acres, and added them up. So that's how I got that calculation. Okay, continuing on with my previous conversation. Next, we have farming concerns. Springland has been a rural farming area in the county, and according to the value goal statement of the master plan of the county wishes to update the zoning ordinance in a way that will place controls on certain types of growth, preserve some undeveloped areas for recreation, open space, solitude, and preserve agricultural uses, and also preserve the areas for aesthetic qualities. This zoning recommendation does not do that. It doesn't even allow for farm animals. I would have to wonder the people in this city atmosphere that they're wanting to do, if they want to hear cows mooing when they're weaned from their mothers all night long. Another major farming concern is the secondary water system for the area. This could be adversely impacted by the development on the hill because the water goes through the tunnel from side to side, and the development may cause impacts. From an overall development perspective, the 8,000 square foot lots do not fit with the larger lot and farm sizes of Springland, nor the adjacent developments in the foothills of Eagle Cliffs. Also, what impact will such a development have on the natural springs to Springland, and also the runoff to properties below? Since the zone requires roads, sidewalks, etc., there will be less absorption. And we already know that Bull Wash has flooded multiple times from water that has come down from the Kendallsworth area, and I don't think that's been addressed. Tank Hill has been a local, as the locals reference, this area has been known for scenic vistas, habitats for wildlife, winter range, and watershed values, as well as deer preserves. And according to the master plan, these types of areas should be protected and not turned into major developments. Since this zone change proposal creates safety issues,
2 minutes,
water issues, and does not follow the master plan, I'd ask you to reject it. Once the zone change occurs, there's no going back. Thank you.
Mr. Richelman.
My name is Julie Conk, and I live up in Kenilworth. And when you have a home that's sat for 100 years or more, these things are protected. They're precious. Kenilworth is a mining town, and all those homes have been there. The same ones have been there all these years. And people drive up to see it, and it's amazing to see. And the thoughts that somebody's just going to tramp through in homes, and it's just going to change the whole value of Kenilworth. And that's just the way I feel.
Tom Matthews, just a couple quick comments.
We don't listen unless you got pictures.
Oh, wait, let me go. Who's got them? Somebody sold them. No, now on 2000 West and the Spring Glen Road and that intersection, I don't know if you've gone to the DOT. Kurt works with the DOT. What the impact on the Kenilworth Road is going to be. When you come underneath the underpass off of the Spring Glen Road and try to turn in on 2000 West, especially if you've got a trailer, a stock trailer, or a camp trailer, you can't make it there. You're waiting for all the cars. So if you add another 100 cars coming down the Kenilworth Road, I don't think that road is adequate. And they still have never addressed the 2000 West access getting in and out. They've sort of brushed around that because there's no way of widening that road. That intersection is dangerous. And also at nighttime when the school kids come home from the after school hours that they keep them, they drop them off out there on the highway. They have to walk across that road. They have changed it because some of the kids, people are here now, said they used to have to walk to the bus. Now the bus goes up around there because safety. So you've created a lot more traffic, and it's going to be, that intersection is a tough intersection.
Yeah, my name
name's Keith Haycock, and I'm a Kenilworth resident. I've lived up there for pretty close to 40 years. I know that the water system, sewer, water, everything is 40 years old. I'd like to know how many houses they're thinking of putting in around Kenilworth and tying into the water system up there, because it's a fragile system. It's 40 years old, and I don't know what we can do to improve it without completely redoing it. The water tank is too small to add too many more homes onto. The pump house would have to be built bigger to accommodate a bigger tank. I just, I would like to know these questions, before I would say yay or nay to it myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Abby Keel. Mostly, I'm just a little bit curious about the highway as it approaches Kenilworth. I think that could potentially handle some of the traffic that we're talking about, but once you get into Kenilworth proper, the roads are very narrow, and some of those homes are very close to the road, and so I'm wondering kind of how the roadway will work through that area. Will we be expanding the road and continuing through the middle of Kenilworth as it is and just expanding into people's front yards, or will there be some other solution as far as going around some of that area? So that's just something that, as someone who's looked at Kenilworth as a future home, I'd like to know how that will impact my neighbors. Thank you.
Hey, George Melchak again. Another thing is we live in open spaces with, kids going through our property all the time, heading up on a hill, going out back. You're taking all this away from them too, by putting them so many homes. You're making it like a downtown city. These poor kids are not going to know what it's like to grow up. And there isn't nothing for them to do. If you let them go play in the dirt, they don't do much damage out there. But right now, them kids won't be able to go from one place to another. They go through my place all the time for helper. I'm sure the Kenilworth kids are coming out and going around, playing, having a good time. But now, thank goodness a lot of us are getting older, but people like Abby and them are having kids nowadays. What are their kids going to do? Sit in the house, play video games? We're not big city folk. People need to understand we like our rural life. So if you're going to build, you build separate. Big distance, not short. So we're not on top of one another. We don't like living like rats. Sorry, that's how city folk live.
I'm David Ariotti again. Echoing what he said about open spaces, and we've heard a lot about green space. I have no doubt that I'm never ever going to be allowed on any of the green space they talk about with the elk, because that's all a CWMU now, and I don't think that'll change. That goes for the cedar trees around Wellington. So I think we should take this idea that that's going to benefit us all off the table, because it's not. We won't have access to that. The other thing is the parcels, the Utah Railway parcels. There's 3 parcels. That changes significantly if they acquire that, what they're trying to do. I think we need to keep that in mind. That's all.
Thank you.
Cheryl Lupo. I'm just going to talk about quality of life this time. I don't live, my house does not attach to any of Blackhawk mining, but I would definitely adhere to all of the congestion that came out of everything up there. Where I live, I have the congestion of coal trucks. I have congestion of RV, because we've got the RV park up the street from us. And then to have the congestion of say 450 homes, you'd have 1,600 more vehicles. Not saying they're all going to go in front of my house, but they're going to go, a lot of them, in that direction. And so my quality of life is very important to me, and I live in a rural area for that reason. I can move to Price or Provo or Salt Lake, but I choose to live in a rural area for a reason. And it's because of the dark, the quiet, the less congestion. I mean, I came from Southern California, so I know what congestion is. But I moved here in '81 for that quiet life. And I don't want to see that. I am not saying I don't want growth in this county. Growth is important for this county, but not in these scenic, beautiful places. There's plenty of places flat and probably a little bit easier for water, infrastructure out at those other places. Yes, we have the best internet probably in the western region of the United States. I mean, my father still lives in California and his internet is terrible, but it's just not secluded to Spring Glen or to Kenilworth. That internet is all over Carbon County. So I don't want to see you guys make the decision for this rezoning. And I echo everybody that has already come up here. The rezoning will just, like Lena said, you rezone and it'll be very hard to go back.
2 minutes.
Hello, my name's Carol Summerman. I live in Kenilworth. I noticed one of the areas you want to take over is a tubing hill. Our tubing hill this last week had 100 kids sliding down that hill. He wants to build a house on it. That don't fly. What size house is he going to build in Kenilworth? We're a coal town. We get people up there all year long that want to know the history of that town. Him building a bunch of houses is going to kill that history. Carbon County was built on that history. Don't let some big construction company come in and destroy that history. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa Cartwright. I'm the reason why the bus route got changed, because I didn't want my kids standing on Kenilworth Road, and that was 15 years ago. I wouldn't want my kids standing on that road with that many houses up there to catch a bus, and there are kids that still catch the bus on that road. It is not wide in Spring Glen. It is dangerous. It's dark in the mornings. It's dark in the afternoons if they're coming home from those after-school activities. So unless you can address a road issue there, it's dangerous for kids. And as far as your ATV trail, you're destroying that whole ATV trail that you have marked on your county maps for people to use. So there goes your advertising of come and use our spaces for ATV use. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Ryan Madsen. I'm from Helper. I am very nervous. I don't talk in front of people, so I apologize if my voice shakes, but I think you can see how much our community cares about this. We've overfilled your seats here. My concern is with the infrastructure. The roads have been a concern, and I think we all can agree that we all have the same concern about the water and the sewer usage that we did in Spring Glen. I know this is a separate issue, but it's all the same. As a public servant on the fire department for 2.5 years, I heard other people bring this up, that wildland fires are a huge concern in Kenilworth, and that's true. Helper Fire has 16 employees. They are volunteer, and they serve Kenilworth, Spring Glen, all the way up to the summit, including Helper. We do not have the people, the time, or the money, really, to accommodate for 400 more homes. What else did I want to say? I don't know. There was something else, but now I'm nervous. I can't remember. Thank you. I appreciate my community coming. Oh, now I remember. Blackhawk owns more than just this. They own a lot of land around Carbon County. I would be willing to bet that this is phase 1, so keep coming to the meetings. Keep allowing yourself to be heard. I'm proud of my community.
After you, sorry.
My name's Chris Haycock. My biggest question right now with this development, I know it's probably going to happen, but the biggest question right now is, in Carbon County, we've heard that there's not housing. Okay, but how many other subdivisions have space, are not full? Why this development? Why now? That's the biggest question I have.
Good evening. My name is Robert Grieve, and I'm a newbie. I moved into the Kenilworth. My history comes living in Hawaii, California, places where developments were put in the first moratorium in Hawaii on North Shore. I saw the bean fields and the oranges in Southern California disappear. Came out to Snowbird. Salt Lake was beautiful, started to grow. I went to Park City. It got built out of the rubble. Amazing. Raised a family up in Midway, most beautiful little place in the world. Try and drive around in there. Infrastructure changes are impactful. They're tremendous. Digging up all the roads to repair old infrastructure. I bought a little place. I'm in the very south end. It's lot number 1, kind of neat, special to me. It's very serene, it's quiet. I keep running away from all the butts and elbows in this world. And if we keep developing by letting rape and pillage go through instead of small development growth, what I've learned, and I was a contractor, I let that license go. I'm retired. I live on a limited income. I like to work hard. But small growth is a good thing. You want to take a look at bad growth? Take a look at the whole stretch between Park City, Heber, and Midway. It is unbelievable. And everybody up there that has lived there for years has complained. I'm not really too impressed with the PowerPoint. It could have been more inclusive. We need more information here. The density, it really hasn't been discussed, and that's what the zoning change is all about. To the presently own or playing the option, if I talk to you outside, you were working for owners from Mapleton. You are the developer. You are the owner now. Answered that.
2 minutes.
Thank you. I love being out here, and I hope that we can preserve something that's been there for a very long time.
Thank you. We're going to let you be our last speaker so that time doesn't
I'm
run
Donna
out.
Cartwright, and I live in Kenilworth, and I have no internet service, just so you know. I have one bar. It doesn't run my phone. So something there would have to change if that's indeed the case. My property is adjacent to Blackhawk property. In fact, the road that goes to my garage goes through their property. When they surveyed it, they just did a terrible job. And so there really was no road to go to it. So I would basically be landlocked unless I had an access road to go there. I've been around Kenilworth my entire life. So I'm 70, so lots of years. Any development above town is going to cause flooding because it goes directly up. There's not very much land between the town and the mountain. Any growth below town, I'm not against any of that, but I do agree with the people that says that we need bigger lots. There are canyons, washes, we call them, everywhere. So I don't see how you're going to be able to put 5 homes on 8,000 square feet unless I don't even see how the sewer would work because there's not that much flat land that doesn't have gullies that go down the hill. So it's everywhere. It's by my house, by the the trail system. So I really think if you are going to have development up there, you need to have bigger lots for it. The 5-acre lots that are down below are feasible. So, you know, and then across the way where the ski hill, it's right across my, I look directly at it. But you could put houses in there. I'm wondering, what roads are you going to use? Is it the Claybanks Road? Is that the only one? Or is it directly off 157?
2 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
I was letting her be the last one, so I'm going to ask for questions from the panel here.
I think we have a few more people.
Okay, go
Are you
ahead.
guys waiting to comment? Okay, so we got a few more.
My name is Jessica Jukes, and I live in the Eagle Cliff subdivision. I'm not against development in the area, but the density proposed is more fitting for close to town instead of in a sleepy mining town in a rural community. We moved here to get away from that type of development, and if I'd have known that this would be adjacent to our property like it's being proposed, I mean right up against our property, I'm not sure if we would have bought our property. I'd like to know the lot size proposed for these areas, because I don't know if maybe I just missed that for this one. I caught it for the first part. I'd be more supportive of an RR5 zoning, like what's around Eagle Cliff subdivision, instead of what's being proposed. Also, I'm pretty concerned about the traffic going up and down that highway, and particularly for the people that live on that highway. Already, it's insane. I mean, between dodging deer and people pulling in and out of their driveways and the school bus and the UPS. I mean, it's real heads up driving down that, and adding all these homes to that area is just going to make that worse. And I agree with Mr. Conk about the fire issue up there. I mean, I've laid in bed at night since we've moved there thinking about, okay, if a fire was coming up there and it's blocking the road, how the heck are we going to get out of here? Can I get out of here on those dirt roads? And then add all of these extra homes to our situation just is a scary thought. And I think that's a huge, huge thing that I wanted to add. That's all I have. Thank you.
My name is Chris Matthews. I actually live in Price City, but my job takes me to Kenilworth and Springland. In fact, I was reading meters there today. Many of you on this board, some of the commissioners, a lot of the people in this room are actually my customers. I want to address the quality of life issue. I'm a product of, like Mr. Metzger said, having to go up to the Wasatch Front back when I was a youngster to work. And I worked in the utility industry up there where I helped wire up a lot of those subdivisions, and I seen the growth. A lot of it appeared unbridled. And we're now where everybody seems to be living on top of one another. We have a quality of life down here. Sure, we want to have some houses and we want to have some people come in, but do we want to end up like up in Alpine around Cabela's, where it's just everybody's living on top of one another? Thank you. To be continued, I suppose.
Good evening. My name is Chelsea Conk, and I'm a resident in Kenilworth. I own property that would adjoin this property here that Black Hawk Coal is looking at changing. I've lived there. It's a beautiful place, so to develop it, to live there, I don't argue with that. But the gentleman below me, he bought 80 acres. I wish I could afford something like that, but it shows that space is important to people if they can afford it. So maybe to make these lots not so small, cram us in, quarter-acre lots, half-acre lots, it's a bit tight. That would be my concern. Also, there is only one passing lane that goes out of Kenilworth. It's very near the town. It's quick, and if you miss it, you follow somebody for quite a long ways. And I don't think adding more homes would make that a good idea, the traffic. So, thank you.
Now we'll close that part of it. It's time that we need to look at the possible change to Carbon County zoning map from M&G.
Oh, so are we done with public comments?
What's that?
Are we done with public comments? I'll make a motion to close the public comment portion of the discussion.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. So it's time for a change request to Carbon County zoning map from M&G.
Real quick, Richard, do you want Dave to address some of those questions that were brought up?
No. It's time that we review the possible recommendation for approval to County Commission on a possible change to the Carbon County zoning map from M&G to R1 8000 located in the Kenilworth area, parcels 2-430, 2-432, 2-433, 2-438, 2-439, and 2-499 for Blackhawk Ranch.
Well, if we're doing a hard stop, Chairman, I'll make a recommendation. But do you recommend something else, Todd?
I think with some of the things that were brought up, I think it would be good to address some of those concerns. I don't know if the panel has any other comments that were brought up from the public or other questions that have arisen that they want to have addressed.
I personally would like to see them kind of redesign it with bigger lots. I kind of agree with what everybody said. I don't think these little lots fly around here.
Mr. Combs, would you like to comment anything to us before we make our decision?
I'm happy to answer the questions that the good people brought up as much as we can, and then provide the other engineering if necessary.
I'm fine if you make some comments, because I think everybody's passionate about it here. Let's get it out tonight, and then we'll just get it moving forward.
Okay. All right, so let me answer the questions as quickly as I can in the interest of time, and knowing that we're going to provide additional information. Realize that the rezone does not mean that carte blanche, you can come and develop whatever you want. Each individual one of those parcels would have to come in for separate subdivision. That has to do with how the utilities are going to be upgraded, the streets are going to be upgraded, and any necessary issue that has to happen to meet county standards. So our goal and what we've attempted to do in working with the county for the last year is to develop and to bring this to the table at county standards. County sizes, county standards, our water reports and the reports that we've done are at county standards and above. We talked about a little bit about the water report and things. We know that the water has to be upgraded and the sewer has to be upgraded. It won't impact, let me use this word carefully. We're going to add an additional tank at least in the one report. So we will not be taking water from the existing tank in this area. We'll be adding a separate tank that has significant enough excess water that includes not only the fire, but the water for all the houses that we're talking about. The other issue is, and I'll have to pull the map up as I'm talking, I want to be clear that the zoning that Kenilworth currently enjoys and the property owners currently enjoy are tiny compared to what we're proposing. So the lots that they're currently living on are teeny tiny lots. We're proposing larger lots than that around the property. So let me go to the map and I'll show you. So that, because someone, can we do the lights again real quick? So this area down below there is obviously the larger lots, right? That's not the smaller lots that we're talking about. There's lots in here, and those lots are a little bit smaller, but nowhere near this size. The access to these lots don't go through Kenilworth. They come off over here onto these existing roads. So we're not going to be driving through Kenilworth to get through these. We're going to be providing additional roads out here, which allow also for additional movement throughout this area, not just related only to that road. Can you turn the light back on? I made lots of notes and they look like this, unfortunately. One of the comments was, are we going to encourage the home builders to build in towards the community and not monstrosities and weird things. Absolutely. I talked about that a little bit in my proposal. What we're talking about is we want them to be efficient and effective homes that match the local area, the local topography, similar to the Eagle area, but that work with the natural environment. Like I said, we have to increase and upgrade all the capacity for fire, water, sewer, electric, gas, everything. We're not affecting the right-of-way trails. Somebody said something about, oh, we can't ride our dirt bikes or whatever it is. The right-of-way trails that have been there for 100 years, those all stay there. They're all part of the development. Someone said that we could buy it and bulldoze the whole thing. Sure. What we could do is we could sell one of the parcels, and I'm not trying to be flip, really. Economically, we really need to understand this. I could sell one of the parcels to Bill Gates, and he could fill the whole entire thing in. Or we could try and do it ourselves, and we could sell it, and we would lose $20 million, because that's what it would cost to level up one of these developments and put in all the water and the retaining areas and all that. It just is not feasible. That's not what we want to do, and I want you to take this in the spirit it's intended. We're now one of the largest landowners in Carbon County. We want the area to be developed nicely. We want to be good neighbors. We don't want to come in and railroad and make it tiny little horrible places. We want there to be a good community. Let's see, working with the wildlife people, we do that and are going to continue to do that. The farms. I don't know if you've hiked around this area, but I'm not sure what farming was planned, but that's just not real. The area will not sustain, the farms just won't happen. Even in the area, and take this for just the stupid comment that it is, even in the area right here at the bottom of 049, that maybe you could flatten out a little bit, it's made of some material that's clay-like that nothing in the world will ever grow in.
How about the barrel cactuses that have been there for hundreds of years?
They will be lovely. We're not intending to hurt anything. So let's go. Can we turn this light up so I can do this? So we want to make sure that, and I think in the proposal we talked about today, Todd, that we talked about increasing the size of these densities down here to half acre, and then leaving these the smaller quarter acre lots. So our proposal on this issue is, again, we take out those, we zone these at the half acre and above, and obviously you can see where the lot lines are in the plan. Nothing in there is half an acre. Those are all much larger than half an acre because the topography doesn't allow it. But maybe one of the lots here or here may be half an acre, and so because we can't micro-zone just one house or one lot, we have to zone the entire parcel, so that's what we've come to do. This area.
Let's hold down the public comments.
This area stays the same in our proposal as half acre and above. But if you look at this, there are a few areas where those are half acre. All the rest of these are 1, 2, 3, 5, significantly large. And if you see those lots right there, do you see those lots? Those lines go straight up a cliff. So it looks all wonderful, but where the house would actually be located is just right along those existing streets there. Certainly not up here because you can't do it. And I don't mean you can't do it because it's impossible. It's not only impossible, but it's not financially feasible to do it, nor could you get a car up and down to it if you ever were to do that. The roads, you don't have enough room on those things to go up and around and retaining wall it enough to get up and around to the top of the property. It's physically impossible to do. Carbon County history. Again, we're buying the mine. We understand the history. We love the history. We want to continue to maintain the history. The challenge is the mine closed. I'm sure that all of your families have been impacted over decades because the mine closed. Helper, for example, in order to do development, is landlocked. They can't. They don't own any of that property. They can't move and open and do anything else. So the idea of, there's plenty of land, let's just go develop someplace else, it's not accurate. The land in these areas that allow for development are so topographically challenged, there's just not a space to do what has been suggested. The question is, why this, why now? Well, this now is because we bought it. We saw the potential here to develop and to maintain this huge wilderness area, again, as owners, not as just developers who come and go, and to develop this and continue to that process. In so doing, we want to develop some residential. The county has asked for it and want it, the city wants it and needs it, industry needs it. So we're providing that. Why this, why now? Also, it's going to take several years for all of this to move forward. It's not going to happen tomorrow. All of this stuff is going to take time. So it's not going to boom all of a sudden in 6 months, all that's there. That's not going to happen. The survey, I apologize that your driveway goes the wrong way and the survey did it bad wherever she is. We didn't do that survey. That was an old mining survey, and whatever access we need to help out the community and the neighbors to get to their property, we're happy to do that. The flooding issue. The flooding issue, I don't want to say it the wrong way, and Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, it can't happen. We have to retain the water on our property, and we have to retain the water on our property at 100-year flood levels, right?
So the design criteria is a 25-year storm that you have to design for a 1-hour storm on a 25-year event. So that's what the design criteria you'll have to design for the hydrology study.
Okay, and so those we talked about before, those retention ponds are not dams. They're not in a canyon with a dam across it and the dam can fail. They're holes in the ground that allow both percolation back into the groundwater and retention that flows out at that whatever the allowable FEMA and whatever the pre-construction design was. That's the only amount of water that can go out over that period of time. So the retention basin has to hold all the water necessary for that to occur. The development areas. And the other question was, who's going to do all this? We're going to do it, okay, and we maintain it, and these become county services and county things that we eventually have to give to the county. But we're paying to do all the upgrades, except for if I get Biden to give us money. So anyway, let me finish this because I don't want to get yelled at. I want to finish as much as we can. Oh, don't take this wrong, and I'll finish now. The rape and pillage comment. It's a little harsh. No, it is, because raping and pillaging, the idea behind that is doing something and leaving. We're staying. We bought this for the long term. There's no intention to do that. We're not being personal and nasty, and we hope, and so far we haven't had that either. We want to maintain that.
If I might say, I didn't do that to hurt anybody's feelings, but to express the depth of what the situation I've seen in the past with development.
I understand, and in the past I've seen that too.
And there's different ways to.
Like I said, we've purchased it. We love it. We want to continue to maintain it. We want to be here the long term. There's no coming, going, taking advantage, and leaving. We want to stay here and be here. Is there any other questions?
No, that does it. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Todd, do you have anything?
Yeah, they closed the public hearing. So, based off of some of the discussions, some of my comments, one comment with the zone change, the county's development code, anything above 7,000 feet in elevation is considered our watershed zone. So this parcel that surrounds Kenilworth, there are areas that go above 7,000 feet. So we'd want to limit the zone change to the elevation of 7,000 feet. The rest of it's just cliffs and ridges, but to be consistent with everything else, have the zone, if it gets changed, to 7,000 feet in elevation. To have the other areas around Eagle Cliff to at least a half acre, because the preliminary things that I've discussed with them with the initial water study, that's the smallest some of those are going to be. Most of them are going to be a lot larger, you know, acre on up to 5+ acres. The area immediately around Kenilworth, there are some that, yes, they'd want to do the 8,000 square foot zone. There can be, with this exact proposal, we'd have to have a better legal description to parcel out the 8,000 square foot and then the half acre, you know, in the bigger one around Kenilworth. It is doable. So we can break that out where they can have the smaller lots, if that's the proposal and the recommendation, around Kenilworth to the north, and then to the south have the half acre. So once again, I know I've had conversations with them on the water study with the water tank. It is feasible. It just is going to cost some money to put it in, but it is feasible to have the water supplied and create the infrastructure for it.
Thanks, Todd.
You guys ready for a recommendation?
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
Since he's already brought up the subject of having larger lots and the one portions, would it be feasible to amend his thing instead of saying the R1 8,000 acre zone in it for that, to break it up so there are multi-zones in there right now and we handle it all at one time instead of having one zone for everything? Because he's already said it's not going to be zoned, they're not going to build it that way.
You can make a recommendation, and we can pull up the exact parcel numbers. You can make a recommendation for another zone size. So if the Planning Commission is comfortable, if work with Blackhawk and you want to make a recommendation for a different zone size, then yes, it is possible.
Thanks, Todd.
If everybody's ready, I'm ready to make a recommendation.
Go for it, Trapper.
I'd make a recommendation to the City Council to deny the proposed zone change as it's taken. My reason for the denial is I think it's a mistake for us to take 892 acres of property and zone it all R18. Now, I wouldn't be opposed if they went back and looked at individual sections and say, yeah, we want a little higher density here. Over here, we're going to have, more green space. And I do understand they're not all buildable, but my concern is if you happen to sell the property and the new property owner decides that they can do something with what everybody's considering a smaller lot, then they would be able to. I do believe that you can do the engineering. That's not a question. I know if you spend enough money, you'll be able to get it completed. And unfortunately, I think your drawings kind of are a little bit deceiving. Some of the acres, they look like they could be a 20-acre piece. I would not think that you'd be able to make your money back if they were all like that. My biggest concern is if you look just around Kenilworth, you're going Kenilworth from the size it is to 4 to 5 times. I think that's a way too big of impact to make a decision that critical on it. I do appreciate everybody coming out and spending time to make your comments, because you guys don't realize we're making big decisions here, the recommendations to the commission that affect everyone, so thank you. That's my recommendation.
Was that a motion?
Yes. Sorry.
Restate it shorter.
Just summarize it.
Yeah.
Just denying the as submitted proposal for the zone change based on just too large to swallow and undertake for that specific zone.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Do a count.
Michael and Gary, nay on the motion.
Did you get that, Todd?
Well, we can do a roll call if we need to, so you get them right.
What was the vote? Huh?
3. So let's do a roll call. Kurt?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
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 Aye.
Tie.
So Richard only votes if there is a tie. So Kurt and Scott voted yes for the motion, and Trapper voted yes on the motion, correct? Michael and Gary voted nay, so the motion would pass 3-2.
Okay.
And so just so we're clear, so that's your recommendation of denial. So it will still go to the county commission for
With a recommendation.
with the recommendation of a negative or a denial.
Recommendation from the.
So, yep.
Okay, now all of you are going to want to talk on this next item. You better not. This is a public hearing on the annual amendments to the Carbon County Development Code. And I'll preface that with most of the items that were changed were outdated and just needed to be updated and cleaning up some of the things that were in the code. So it's, in my opinion, not a big deal. So I would accept a motion on.
Let's just give it a second for those who want to clear out and don't want to hear me talk about development code updates. Let's give them a second if they want to clear out, or they're welcome to stay.
I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, yes. Here's those two maps. Here's the staff report if you want them for it. Did I write on the other one?
That's what I was suggesting.
Oh, dadgummit. Yes, I can email them to you, or I can print.
900 acres.
So just write your email right there. I wrote
To me, it's too much.
one of the other pages. So here's the other half of the staff report. And I wrote on the front cover, so I'm going to have to.
And I wouldn't disagree with that.
This, I would agree with that. That's why I was asking you, could we do that? He didn't say anything, so I thought,
Isn't it this one?
I would have gone, says, yeah, let's just break it down. This part is this size, this size.
So the
multi-8
on the footer.
Exactly. That's why I want him to do it and then come back to it.
With this.
Not good.
Is I can turn off the title page, just add registration.
Yeah.
So I accidentally took notes on it.
Yeah. There he gets it. There he gets it now.
So if there's anything else, give me a call.
He gets a full meeting house next time.
Just to be clear, if everybody is not staying for the next item, can you please go outside so that we can continue on with the meeting? Thank you.
They don't pay us enough for this.
And I renewed. Can you believe that?
I did so. I did too.
So Doris is coming back with a few pieces of chocolate, and we should got some more snacks.
So to start us off, I guess, Richard, I would make the motion to open the public hearing for the annual amendments to the Carbon County Development Code.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments from the audience on the public hearing for the annual amendments to the Carbon County Development Code. And as I mentioned when it was a little noisier, all these items have been reviewed by the Planning Commission, and most of them are outdated or not in need at this time or corrected on distances and things. So would accept a motion on that.
Doris has a question.
Do you know who made the motion?
Oh, Mike.
I made the open.
Scott seconded it.
So need a motion then to update previous or review and possible recommendation.
So we're still in our public hearing. Todd, do you want to give us a quick 30-second overview?
So the couple of things are updating, creating an existing house subdivision to where if a house is part of a farm and they want to separate that house from, a farm, large acre, like it's a 20-acre parcel or 40-acre parcel, grandpa passed away, wanted to give it to their son or daughter, but someone else wants the farm, they can separate the house, then I could approve those as the planning director, so we don't have to have them come to you. They have to meet the requirements, they have to be connected to the water, the utilities, and all that.
So this is an administrative use is what it would become.
It would become an administrative use. The second one would be approval for a subdivision with 2 lots or less. So an example tonight, Steve Johnson's. So his house, his daughter, they have the water share, they have the fire hydrant, they have the access. It's all there. They just want to separate, so his daughter has a home and then he has his home, so it's not all tied to the farm. That would become an administrative use also, so that they can get them done and move forward. Because a lot of times we have them come here, sit through the meeting, and it's 30 seconds and it's done. So it's administrative use. We have all of the requirements they would have to meet in order to get those approved. The last ones are simplifying and making the setback requirements uniformed so that you have, every zone has, one zone has a side setback of 8 feet, another has 10 feet for like accessory dwellings, making it consistent so they're all the same. That way it's easier to apply. For example, our 20-acre zone, the side setbacks for an accessory dwelling is 10 feet. So simplify it to where the setback could be 4 feet as consistent with all the other zones. So that's the other.
And just to make this clear, this is only for accessory buildings, correct?
So yeah, so accessory buildings, that's what it's for, is accessory buildings.
Throughout all the zones?
Throughout all the zones, making them the same, except for Schofield Lakeshore Zone, because they're 5-foot setback all the way around. So that and the historic mining zone, those can be little lots. So everywhere else have a 4-foot setback. So, and there's a couple other errors, grammatical errors that we had that we'll delete to make it flow better. So those are the updates. And I'm hungry.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Seeing no comments from the public, I would motion to close the public hearing.
Second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Updates, Todd?
We got to do this.
So item number 16.
Intentionally. Yeah, that's what I was doing.
So I'll help you out here, Richard. Item number 16, I'll make a positive recommendation to the County Commission for the amendments as discussed in the public hearing on agenda item 15.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? Motion carries. Updates.
So I think the update is we'll have Blackhawk come back in February for the parcels in close to Helper. The other one will go to the County Commission. Other than that, I can't think of any. We may have another subdivision in Ballpark that is coming in the next few months. I don't know exactly when, but they're working on another subdivision or another phase that they're working on. So other than that, I think that's all the updates I have for now.
Thank you. Would accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Well, he listened, but not as a Sunday commission. Like Sunday. He listened.
Tree chairs. Yeah.
Todd. Hey, Todd, did you get your cow?
No. Flew out of St. George. So many people go.
So I haven't been much now we start seeing you're getting paid overtime. Without lunch, without lunch, so you get an extra half hour for lunch.
Go out and go have some little situation you call. Yeah, give me a call.
I looked at all the lines and stuff. I could have bought a bottle of Ohio State. You were there. Yeah. I didn't know. Yeah. You said you wanted. I did.